Hey there, Molly Kitchen here, and today we're going to explore Urdhva Dhanurasana and some different ways to get into this challenging back bend full wheel. So first thing in Urdhva Dhanurasana is getting some strength, engagement, and warmth in the legs. So you can start out with simple high lunge, adding a back bend. One thing to remember is as you engage your legs and reach your arms up overhead to draw the bottom ribs down so that you're not simply thrusting your ribs to get a back bend, but you're working to open the shoulders and get an even curve in the spine. So next up, Urdhva Dhanurasana requires a lot of opening in the quads. So here I'm practicing Anjaneyasana with a quadriceps stretch. Again, working on drawing the bottom ribs in. And as I'm drawing my heel toward my butt, I'm also drawing my low belly in and lengthening my tailbone down. So low belly drawing in, tailbone drawing in and down, and then working on that even lift of the chest and the back bend, not thrusting the ribs forward. So from there, it's good to get the back muscles engaged. They're going to be working a lot. So here I'm working with a variation on Shalabhasana, lifting the opposite arm and leg up. This is awesome to get the posterior muscle chains engaged and some cross-lateral movement. You can do this with your breath, inhaling up and exhaling down. So next up, Shalabhasana, more traditional form, interlacing the fingers behind the back. This is also a great prep for the upper body, upper back for bridge pose, which we'll do in a moment. So Shalabhasana there, and then coming into Dhanurasana. So I'm doing a variation on Dhanurasana here where my hands are on the inside of my feet, thumbs turned up, so that it's a big shoulder stretch as well as requiring a lot of strength in the quadriceps muscles. All right, so from there, we're going to work a bit on shoulder opening, another very important aspect to creating this big back bend shape. So first one, puppy pose. It's kind of like a half downward dog, knees down, hips directly over the knees. Here I'm keeping my low belly drawing in, and then we're going to take this down to a forearm downward dog. So with the forearms pressing firmly down into the floor, I'm drawing my heart back toward my knees. I'm also wrapping my outer upper arms back. So you can think outer triceps rolling back toward outer knees to get a big stretch in the chest and the shoulders. Next up, a possibility is coming into bridge pose. And bridge is great for setting up the legs in Urdhva Dhanurasana and also getting an idea of this big lift in much of the torso and chest. Arms are in quite a different position, but it's a great shoulder opener, so really tuck the upper arm bones under. And then also here you can really look and feel for if your feet are parallel to one another, not turning out. Another way to prep for Urdhva Dhanurasana is to use the wall as a prop. So I often call this shoulder stretch the weight staff stretch. So it's as though you're holding a giant platter behind you, like you're a waiter, waitress, wait staff. So here it's a big stretch for the inner armpit, sometimes called the armpit chest. I'm pressing my pinky side of my hand into the wall with my hand above my shoulder. The other arm is in front, working towards squaring the shoulders and the torso in line with the hips. All right, the wall can take quadriceps stretching to a whole other level. So I'm going to repeat the quadriceps stretch that I did in the middle of the room now with my back foot at the wall. So Anjaneyasana, you decide if your toes are tucked under or if the top of the foot is at the wall. If the top of the foot's pointing up, point the toes straight up, not out to the side. And draw the heel toward the outer butt just as you would for big quadricep stretch. This is such a big stretch and is made even stronger by drawing the low belly in and up, lengthening the tailbone down. Very much the possibility of the rib thrust happening here, especially arms come to the overhead plane. So draw the bottom ribs in. In this last version, I'm actually taking hips away from the wall but keeping thumbs at the wall. So of course, trying that on both sides. No super graceful way to get into and out of this pose. Just get your knee as close to the wall as you can. And as I'm practicing this, again, I'm drawing low belly in and up, tailbone in and down. And then to work into more of a stretch for the quadriceps, the hip flexors, you can work toward arms in the overhead plane. And then from there, taking it into more of a back bend by taking the hips away from the wall. So the next thing you can do at the wall is a really great preparation for the wrists. One of the things about Urdhva Dhanurasana is it is a huge stretch for the wrists. So here I'm just doing a simple wrist stretch, flexing there at the wrist joint. Next thing you can do is take arms up overhead, bend the elbows, and then flex at the wrist. So you got the shape of Urdhva Dhanurasana in your upper body, setting yourself up for that big shape and practicing the flexion there and the engagement of the forearm muscles. Using two blocks, leaning diagonally at the wall, you can take some of the deep flexion there, the deep flexion at the wrist joints, out of the posture. So if you make enough space for your head in between those two blocks, and then hands go on the blocks, you can come to the top of your head, hug your elbows in, and then press up to Urdhva Dhanurasana. You can play around here with the placement of your feet, making sure the 2 feet are parallel. It's quite common for the toes to turn out, so you can get an idea of where your feet are in space. And then, of course, walk your feet out and come down when you're ready. And finally, another possibility is working into full Urdhva Dhanurasana now, full wheel. Big flexion at the wrists. As I place my hands there, I'm hugging my elbows in, drawing my shoulder blades back. And after coming to the top of my head to get oriented, pressing all the way up. As you can see, this is so much stretch for the legs, the hip flexors, the quadriceps, but they're also working strongly. As you come down, make sure to give yourself time to rest here. So I'm taking feet wide, inner knees to touch, constructive rest posture. And then from there, a couple of cool down postures or counterbalancing postures. In this version of Supta Padangusthasana, I'm interlacing my fingers behind my thigh and pressing the thigh into the hands. So rather than going for a big hamstring stretch, I'm pressing the thigh into the hands to get more space between the top of the thigh and the low belly. Another one, it's great here, Sukhi Randrasana, ankle over knee. It's a good counterbalance posture. As you work through these different postures, and keep in mind that Urdhva Dhanurasana itself is a huge posture, and doing any of these preparatory postures will help you work toward that big posture. And remember also, the pose is never the point. The posture can lead us into explorations, whether the exploration is into, a big, exciting newness, or whether it's into a quality of patience with oneself and reverence for one's body by not doing more than your body can in any given moment.